Hey, welcome back to the Joe Scarborough Show. Joe and Mika with you. Now let's bring in Tom Brokaw and also Mike Barnicle with us. Tom, everybody's in Washington at least and in Manhattan talking about the race up in Massachusetts. What's your take?
Well, my thoughts are that we'll see how just I suppose the best way of describing this is that how unsettled the country is. Because if the Democrats lose Massachusetts, even with a candidate who everyone agrees has not been very strong or very impressive on the hustings, if they lose that seat, it does alter very quickly overnight the formula in Washington for getting health care passed. My own guess is that the independents are going to drive this and that they are out there crashing around looking for solutions.
What was your, on Morning Joe this morning, you had a great way to describe these independents. You said they had certain privileges.
Well, one of the things I think is they move across the political landscape.
What do you say? They had roaming privileges or something like that.
What I call roaming privileges,
privileges,
you have on your cell phone.
Right.
They've got roaming rights. They roam from the Democratic side to the Republican side, depending on what they think the country needs at that moment. There still is loyalty in states like Massachusetts to the parties, especially to the Democratic Party in that state. But there are generations coming into the system now that say, hey, don't tag me. I'm not a yellow dog Democrat. I'm not going to vote for Democrats no matter what they're saying or what they're doing. I'm much more inclined to find somebody who I think will get the president's attention and the leadership's attention.
Mike Barnicle?
Well, the thing that strikes you, Joe, when you're out there in Massachusetts talking to people is the level of lack of understanding, really, and it has nothing to do with intelligence, the lack of understanding still after all these years and months about what is entailed in this health care reform bill.
Can you believe that? Can you really believe how badly the Democrats have done in defining the piece of legislation that has defined Barack Obama's first year?
It has not yet been explained to people. Tom was talking earlier on Morning Joe about being out in the country.
Yeah.
And you can talk, I'm telling you, Joe, Tom could bear me out. I think you talk to 100 people, ask them, what do you think is in the health care reform bill? They cannot tell you.
Tom, even the families of top Democrats in Washington, please tell that story to our audience.
I was talking to a very senior member of the Democratic leadership on the House side who said he spent Christmas trying to explain to his family what the health care bill was all about and trying to reassure his sister-in-law that her plan was going to be okay.
That's not
And
good.
he wasn't sure that he succeeded at the end. I think what the people know is that deals were cut with Ben Nelson, with the unions when it came to taxing the so-called Cadillac plans. But there
the
is
Louisiana purchase with big pharma, with the big hospitals.
There's enormous uncertainty about what it means, and then folks are looking at how we're going to pay for it, and they say, well, we'll just cut Medicare. Well, what does that mean? And what are the consequences of that down the road when doctors' cost will go up 10 years from now by 60%? If Medicare goes down by 40%, how do you find the appropriate intersection there?
Yeah, and Mike, it's also seems that the White House may not get it right now, get the message in Massachusetts, get just how badly things are going for them, because you have the president going up and saying repeatedly, you can't elect Scott Brown because if you elect Scott Brown, health care will die. The health care reform, the fact is the majority of people in Massachusetts want the president's health care reform plan to die.
Well, what the White House doesn't get, Joe, is anger with the existing order and anger over the fact that they feel that the health care reform plan, which, hey, might be the greatest thing that's ever happened since Social Security, who knows, is being forced upon them with little explanation of what it is. And at the end of the day, everyone asks the same question. How much is this going to cost? What's it going to cost? And they don't mean it in terms of the federal government. They mean it in terms of their family sitting around the kitchen table. How much is it going to cost us?
You know, Tom, a year after Barack Obama was elected to office, you traveled around America, and you have a documentary tonight. Tell us about it.
On USA, it's the American character along Highway 50. We went from the eastern shore of Maryland all the way to Sacramento, California. We dealt with people trying to start small businesses in the middle of this economic downturn, oystermen and crabmen on the Chesapeake Bay, school chancellor in Washington, a man who thought he was going to lose his job, then ended up having to commute 3 hours a day to hang on to it because he needed the health care benefits. A family in Nevada fighting desperately to hang on to a home. They probably overreached in the first place, but they were enabled by a lot of mortgage companies. and by the whole idea that we can spend forever. And what I learned is that most folks out there no longer know what to believe. They've been told so many things in the last few years that have proved not to be true, and they've decided to take responsibility for their lives on their own and try to put this place back together from the ground up. I guess that's the best way of describing it.
And that's the good news of this.
It is, and
study.
it's a very heartening program. It is not one that will make you want to crawl into a fetal position and say, "Oh my God, I give up."
Yeah.
What you'll do is you'll say at the end of it, "I hope I have the same intestinal fortitude and courage that these people do."
Wow.
It's very emotional in a lot of ways, and your heart will go out to folks. But they're also not whining, Joe. I've said that here before. Every stop, I expected someone to start pointing fingers and saying, "It's not my fault." No one did that.
It's not happening. And that's tonight, USA 8 p.m.
at 8 o'clock. And look, I've been at this a long time. I've got to tell you, I'm very, very proud of this one. And even Mrs. Brokaw, who almost never watches what I do, saw it and said, this is worth seeing.
Sounds like my wife and family. They still don't know I have a TV show. They think I'm a banker in Midtown.
Right.
All right, Tom Brokaw, thank you so much.
Okay.
Always appreciate it. And stick with us if you can, Mike. We'll be right back with Joe and Mika.
Okay.